Right then, what we gonna do, lads? It's a week to go, and Joshua needs an opponent. So we're gonna review the potential opponents and one by one talk about the pros and the cons, and also talk about what the hell is Dillian Whyte thinking about. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm sure everyone's seen this statement by now. I've said this before. At this point, right, it's a playbook thing. Like every time you flop a drug test, it's the same old like Instagram post. It's the same old playbook. You know, if you get popped by VADA, you do this. If you get popped by UCAD, you do that, right? But the problem that Dylan White's got is that he's not a promoter's boy right now. He's a free agent, and I know he's been working fight by fight for a long time with Matchroom, but there was a time where they had put a lot of investment into him. He was a pay-per-view seller in his own right, but now he's none of those things, right? And this is in boxing where like it's a shady business, but you've either got people looking after you or you haven't. And after he asked Eddie what Joshua's balls taste like, it probably didn't help his situation a bit now. Um, but you know, in fairness, it's probably like a legitimate question. Um, Something I was thinking about with Dylan, right, is that you see when fights are being negotiated, something that Dylan's talked about before is that it's not enough time. A big fight like this, it needs like 12 weeks, 16 weeks, this and that, right? Um, if I was fighting, I would want to have, especially if you're at the elite level where there's enough money to pay for these types of things, right? I would want the drug testing to commence from the moment the negotiations start. So if we start negotiating 16 weeks out, like in the same way you would sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement to say that, right, okay, as we get into the throes of this negotiation, everything is confidential. I would also want to start with that, the drug testing. So the drug test is happening during the negotiation. Because I think this is just speculating, I think this is part of how fighters attempt to try and get away with this, where they'll start talking, 16 weeks out, and then they'll say, oh, no, they'll price themselves out. And then all of a sudden, with 6 weeks to go, Dylan was like, yeah, I'll take whatever the first offer was, right? And it makes you wonder that is that the reason that they don't sign the contract earlier is because they probably know that they're dirty at that stage. So, negotiating through the media and going to talk sport and saying, oh, I've never been offered nothing and blah, 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 is all of that just a way of killing time to clean their blood and, masking agents and all the rest of it, right? Um, because the thing with Dylan is that, like I said before, it's always the guys that are always like accusing other people of shit. Do you know what I mean? That are actually about it. You know what I mean? When you're talking about, there isn't enough time for drug testing, there isn't this and that. Like, when you're so concerned with that, and like this is the third time dude has popped, man, that is wild. That's crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't be caught with your pants down 3 times. Pause. Do you know what I mean? Um, so I mean, I don't think we've heard yet what he's been taking, but at the end of the day, like whatever excuse he's got is just BS. And I think now he's done, man, because yeah, he's pissed off Matchroom, he's pissed off Frank Warren. Like he didn't want to do any of the media for the Fury fight. So Frank Warren ain't really gonna work with him the way that he behaved there. Eddie ain't gonna work with him, right? The way he's been slagging off Eddie. Um, and now with a third drug test, I mean, boy, you know, maybe if he can sell a good enough story, if he can hire Conor Ben's team or something, do you know what I mean? Get them boys on speed dial, yeah. Maybe he could do something on Sky with Boxer because they're a bit desperado at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Maybe he could be an opponent for Lawrence Okoli if he moves up to heavyweight. Who knows? But anyway, this is getting long. Let's get into the opponents for Joshua. So number one, there's talk of Chisora. Now, the pros of Chisora is that he's a London fighter. You know, the accumulator lads will love him. Yeah, the Ladbrokes Brigade. Do you know what I mean? I.e., like white boy football fans. Yeah, Chisora, mate. Yeah, he's a road man. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it would sell in that sense. There's that name recognition, but the problem is they're boys. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, I don't know whether they would even really want to fight, and I think Chisora would want a lot of money to fight Joshua. Um, and so I guess it comes down to like, does Eddie want to like get bent over, pay Chisora a lot of money, maybe end up making a loss on the show, but at least he saves the show, right? Because the zone are struggling at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Let's be honest, for like big pay-per-view fights, obviously they pay the deposit on the O2, all the other fighters on the undercard. You know what I mean? Um, and so a lot of people as well that have paid money for accommodation and travel, they would probably just rather see a fight at this point than get their money back. Do you know what I mean? Because even if they get their money back on the tickets, they ain't getting their money back on everything else. So I think like business wise it could work, but as a fight, I mean, Chisora ain't got nothing left, let's be honest. And AJ, I mean, I guess he could probably just at this point in his career just focus on doing what he has to do and bash him up. But it doesn't do much for the hardcore fans. Um, HRGOVIC is on the card, but they're not going to put him in with HRGOVIC, let's be honest. There's more chance of putting him in with Dempsey McKean, which is HRGOVIC's opponent, who's some 22-0 bum Australian. Whenever I say his name, I keep on thinking of Memphis Depay instead of Dempsey McKean. But yeah, I don't think he's going to be fighting Memphis Depay or his struggling high top. But the other option is that they could throw him in with Gerald Washington, who's Chisora's opponent, right, on the same card. Now, I think that that could potentially have legs because Gerald Washington is the king of the bums. He's the king of the bums. He's bums. He's the mayor of Bum City, right? And he's the Sadiq Khan of Bum City, basically. And he poses no threat, but it saves the show. I think maybe like half of the people who bought tickets might just want to go anyway because they might have made travel plans. Um, and uh, and that way, Chisora just gets paid off like whatever his purse was gonna be to fight Washington, which probably wasn't a lot. Do you know what I mean? So he just has to get paid off what he was gonna get paid anyway to not fight, right? Sorry, what he was gonna get paid to fight by not fighting. Um, so yeah, there's that option. Um, so I think in summary, HRGOVIC very unlikely. Um, Dempsey McKean, Gerald Washington, maybe. I think Chisora is also a maybe, but it's like I think it's an expensive, probably does the best financial results, but then it costs the most as well. Chisora will want a lot of money to go get bashed up by Joshua. Unless they're just gonna do a dance, do you know what I mean, in this dancery, like Mary J. Blige, and just, do you know what I mean, start hollerating, hesitating in this dancery and just like do a cheeky fucking 10 rounds and no one notices that they didn't really throw any hard punches. Um, but other options, people talking about like people like Bacoli, people talking about Andy Ruiz. Yo, let me tell you something. Joshua ain't trying to take none of them risks, man. Not on short notice. We saw what happened when he last time he fought with someone on short notice. Yeah. Like if they haven't trained for you, then you better be bum city, man. Like there's no way he's good. Like, to be honest, he could easily lose against Bacoli and he could maybe lose against Andy Ruiz. And both of those opponents will want paying, and neither of them at the O2 are gonna do particularly great business. Maybe Andy Ruiz a trilogy fight. Do you know what I mean? Most of the people will probably keep their tickets to be fair. And they might do all right on pay-per-view, but like there's not enough money in the pot, man. Like, put it this way, Andrew Ruiz isn't gonna take what Dillian Whyte was taking to come over here and fight Joshua anyway. So all of that's a non-starter. Or maybe the whole show gets pulled. I have a feeling that the show won't get pulled just because there's too many people who are gonna have to take a bath. Do you know what I mean? Too many people are gonna have to take a bath and get washed. So yeah, just for their monies, I think the show goes ahead, and yeah, man, we'll see what happens. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, man. Who do you think is gonna be? Who would you like to see? Right? Peace.